Greetings, 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 greetings. I am Paula G. I am a TV host, radio host. I am an author. I'm a voiceover artist. And I am a baby boomer on a journey of living the dreams of my youth. And I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing. Even if you're not a baby boomer, encouraging you to live the dreams that are inside of you. So I appreciate all of you for joining us. These are new segments that I'm starting, and we're just going to see where these segments take us. So I invite you on this journey. I invite you to go on to my social media, Paula G Voice, YouTube channel, subscribe. I'm going to begin to build these episodes. So if you miss an episode, you'll be able to go to the YouTube channel and bring up the playlist for these episodes. And I think at the moment I'm going to call them Fit at 60 and Beyond, but that is subject to change. All right. So why am I doing this? What is the purpose of doing this? I've had the opportunity to speak at events. I've had the opportunity to transform my own life and to reinvent myself from who I was. Not that I was a bad person and not that my life was a bad life. It wasn't. And if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't change anything because, you always hear people say, it's the journey. It's the lessons that you learn on the journey. It's not so much about the destination, but about the journey itself. So on this journey called life, these 6 or so decades that I've been on the planet, yeah, I know, have just learned a few things, and I just want to share those with you. Okay, so we're just going to jump right in. All right, really no particular form or fashion, although as we grow, there may be a form or fashion. But we're going to jump right in, and what I want to share with you today, first thing I want to share with you today is about the power of words. I did this event a few weeks ago, and at the time of this particular podcast, we're in the midst of a pandemic. Yes, we are. And for those of you who will be viewing this maybe for the first time on the other side of this pandemic, this message is relevant to you as well. Because during this time, during the season where we are all asked to stay home, we are all asked to stay indoors, the world appears to be shut down. And a lot of people are concerned, upset, worried, panicked. I get it. But I believe it's also a season for us to be still and listen to the voice of God. For those of you who are faith-based and believe in God or a power higher than yourself, to listen to that voice, to see what it is that he's saying to you, what direction it is that he desires you to go in. It's a time for you to rest your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit. Now, granted, I understand if you got little ones, that's a challenge. I got you. That's a challenge. But if you're in the space where you're able to utilize this time to rest your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, I invite you to do so, because in the process of doing that, God may reveal to you what it is that you have desired, or he may reveal an answer to a question that you have had. And one of the things that has been revealed to me has been the creativity that lies inside of all of us. We all have a creative spirit. We all have something that we're gifted to do, whether we realize it or not. We all have something that we're gifted to do. And I recently had the opportunity to share this at an event that I was at. And I just want to share with you today, all right? And you might want to get paper and pencil, because I'm going to ask you to do something for me, all right? What I shared was that God spoke, and it was. The very first verse in the Bible speaks to creativity. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He spoke it, and it was. Then he said, "Let there be light." And there was light. We all know, for those of us who believe, that we're all created in the image of God. He created the heavens and the earth. He created man. He created woman. He is a creator, and we too are creators as well. And we can create simply through the words that we speak. And I know that sounds a little bit cliche-ish, or, you know, maybe impossible, if you will. But our words do have power. The words that we speak over ourselves and over our lives do have power. And at the moment, I'm not asking you to turn to your right and turn to your left, turn to your neighbor to speak anything. I want you to speak these things over yourself, okay? And I want you to speak them out loud. I am creative. I'm able to turn new and imaginative ideas into reality. I'm able to perceive the world in new ways. I'm able to take new ideas and transform those ideas. I am able to visualize what it is that I desire to do. And I'm able to turn that vision into a reality. You know, I have selected a word each year. At the beginning of the year, I've selected a word for the last several years. And for this year, 2020, the word that I selected was intentional, and that I desire to be intentional about what it is that I'm going to do this year. Because as I mentioned before, we all have a gift inside of us, but perhaps we haven't had the opportunity to allow that gift to grow. So what I'd like to ask you to do at this moment, okay, is just take a moment and think about one word that would describe what it is that you seek from this year or this season in your life, okay? So for example, in the past, my word was power. That was one of my words, was power. Another year, my word was freedom. What is it? What is one word that would describe for you what it is that you desire for this particular year? Take a moment, think about that. I have to make an adjustment, but take a moment and think about that. Okay, do you think about that? All right. Well, if you haven't had a chance to write that down, just continue to think about that, and I would challenge you before the end of the day to select a word for the year or this season and begin to build your purpose, your dream, or whatever it is on that word. So once again, for example, mine for this year is intention. Being intentional about what it is that I desire to do. You know, thinking about it, visualizing it, writing down a plan, and we'll talk about that, writing down a plan for it, and then executing that plan, being intentional. You know, sometimes follow through can be, ooh, that can be a challenge for some of us, can't it? Especially when, you know, we're so busy. We have all these great intentions, and no pun intended, but we have all these great intentions, yet we don't follow through because we're so busy with life that we don't have the opportunity to follow through, or the opportunity escapes us. Well, now during this season of having to stay home, we don't know how long they will ask us to stay home in order to slow this virus down and to stop this virus. But while we're home, utilizing this time, I can't stress that enough, y'all. Utilizing this time instead of, you know, watching the news 24/7. I'm guilty of that. I'm a witness, not necessarily during this season, but having done that in a prior season, learning the lesson from that of watching the news 24/7 when there's a crisis. Back in, I think it was the 80s, 90s, somewhere in that time period. During the first Gulf Wars in the 90s. During the first Gulf War, I was a military spouse at that time, and technology was not as it is today. And CNN at the time was my only source of really getting an idea of what was going on overseas. And I found myself glued to the television practically all day. And you know, I had this saying. I like a lot of quotes and I like a lot of sayings. You know, whatever we feed our soul, we become. I became stressed. I became anxious. I became uptight because I was feeding my soul stressful information all day long. You know, now granted, you do need to know what's going on. You do need to know what's happening in the world. And even if we're not going through a crisis, even if we're on the other side of this pandemic and you're watching this, listening to too much negativity is not good for any of us. So, you know, determine what may be good for you. It may be an hour a day, 2 hours, whatever it is. Stick to that particular limit, because what we feed our soul, we become. All right? I'm going to stop there because I'm going to keep these short. I'm going to stop there. I thank you all for joining us. Remember, I'm a radio show host, TV show host, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in upcoming episodes. And I also want to give my sister Shay Samuels a shout out. We're going to do our 2-minute workout to her wonderful, wonderful song, I'm Good, and her music can be found on a variety of platforms. Make sure you check her out. Shay Samuels, and until next time, embrace the journey. Peace. All right, here we go. We're going to do our workout. And I know we've been doing push-ups, squats, crunches, but you know, the more you do, the better you get. Are we ready? Here we go. All right, we'll start with, you know what? We'll start with jumping jacks today. How's that? Ready? And we'll do 20. Here we go. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, right in the squats. 1, 2, I got you. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, jumping jacks. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, squats, here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so some of you might have said, oh God, I can't do those like that. Here's a modified version. So you're jumping jacks instead of jumping. You can just take it out. Because not everybody can jump like that for whatever reason. All right? So here's a modified version. And when you finish with those, squat, just take it out. Take it out. Take it out. Back to the jacks. There you go. Modified version, jumping jacks and lunges. Hope you enjoyed that once again. Shouts out, Shay Samuels, David Benton, Beyond the Fence. I'm good. Until next time, catch my breath, embrace the journey.